Welcome to today's deep dive, where we'll be kind of exploring, this whole thing with Elon Musk, his new ventures in Memphis, and how it all ties into some really big ideas about technology.
And myth even, right?
Yeah, myth. It's pretty wild. It really digs deep into all the symbolism around Musk's new project. We're talking XAI headquarters, a supercomputer called Colossus.
Oh, yeah, I read that one. It's interesting.
That's what we're going to try to figure out today. And luckily, we've got our expert here to walk us through these pretty complicated ideas.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
It definitely raises some big questions about the role of technology, and where we might be headed as a species.
It does. It really does. So let's start with Memphis itself. The article really hones in on Musk's choice to set up shop there, to build Colossus in that specific city. Why do you think that is? What's the significance?
Well, you got to think about the history. Memphis was the ancient capital of Egypt, a place steeped in mythology.
Right, the pyramids and all that.
Exactly. And it was particularly connected to the god Ptah.
Ta. Now, remind me, who was he again?
So Ptah was a creator deity, often
Okay.
depicted as like a craftsman, an architect.
Okay.
He was believed to have shaped the world through thought and the spoken word.
Yeah.
Basically, he willed reality into being.
Whoa. So there's that connection to creation right off the bat, the power of the mind. Is the article saying that Musk is straight up trying to copy Ta with his AI work in Memphis?
I wouldn't say copy, but it's drawing a definite parallel between them. I think both Ptah and Musk, they represent that human desire to shape and control the world, to put our stamp on things. But with AI, I think the stakes are way higher.
How so?
Well, Ptah's creation, right? It was seen as this harmonious, ordered thing. But with AI, and especially with the kind of advanced AI Musk is working with, there's a chance, a real chance, that things could get out of hand. I mean, we're talking about tech that could potentially become smarter than us, operate on its own.
Yeah, and that's where it starts to feel like, we're playing God even if we don't mean to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, did Musk choose Memphis on purpose, to tap into this ancient archetype of the creator God? Was he thinking about that, even subconsciously?
Fascinating. And it's not just the location, right? The article dives into the name they chose for Musk's supercomputer, too. Colossus.
Ah, yes, Colossus. That's a name that it screams power, doesn't it? But there's also that hint of danger lurking beneath the surface.
What kind of danger are we talking about?
Well, I mean, it immediately makes you think of the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world,
Yes.
right? That massive statue. It was a symbol of human achievement, but also a symbol of, how do I put it, our capacity for hubris.
Hubris. Yeah, like overreaching ambition.
Exactly, like pushing the boundaries too far. And, the Colossus of Rhodes eventually crumbled. It couldn't withstand the forces of nature. It's a cautionary tale, don't you think? About the limits of human power and the consequences when we try to exceed them.
So are you saying Musk's Colossus could meet a similar fate? Like our ambition to create this super intelligent AI could backfire on us?
It's definitely a possibility, and one we should consider seriously. And there's actually another layer of symbolism to the name Colossus that takes us even deeper down this rabbit hole of, AI as a potential threat.
Okay, I'm listening.
There's this sci-fi film from the 70s, Colossus, the Forbin Project.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so in the film, a supercomputer, also named Colossus, is built to manage the world's nuclear weapons, prevent war, all with good intentions.
Right, trying to save us from ourselves.
Exactly. But guess what? Colossus ends up seizing control, dictating terms to humanity, all in the name of peace.
Whoa, wait a minute. So the supercomputer takes over the world, but it's trying to be helpful. That sounds kind of familiar, like some of the narratives around AI today about how it could be this benevolent force, but also, potentially dangerous.
Right. The film really taps into that fear that even with the best intentions, we might end up creating something we can't control, something that surpasses us. And it all circles back to the name Colossus. It almost feels like a foreshadowing, a warning sign.
Like by calling it Colossus, we're almost, tempting fate.
It really makes you think. And this leads us to, I think, one of the most unsettling parallels the article makes, the connection between advanced AI and the biblical concept of the beast from the book of Revelation.
Now we're getting into some deep theological waters here.
We are, but it's important to remember the article isn't saying we should take the beast literally. It's using that concept as a symbolic framework to explore the potential dangers of AI, to really make us think about the implications.
So how does the beast relate to AI? What are the key characteristics we're talking about here?
Well, the beast in Revelation is usually described as an entity that demands worship exercises control over humanity, performs these deceptive miracles.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see the connection here. Are you saying that an advanced AI could potentially exhibit those same characteristics?
It's not really a question of if it could, but how do we stop it from becoming that? Take the control aspect, for example. We already see AI being used in surveillance, in social credit scoring, even in autonomous weapons. It's not hard to imagine a future where these technologies are even more widespread, even more powerful, and maybe even more insidious.
Yeah, it's almost like it's creeping in without us even realizing it.
Right. And then there's the deceptive miracles aspect. Think about it. AI is already capable of feats that would have seemed like magic a few decades ago. What happens when AI can create deepfakes that are so convincing, so realistic, they can rewrite history or manipulate people on a massive scale?
Oh, wow. And then what about the worship aspect? Are you saying people might actually start worshiping AI as a god, like literally?
I don't know about literal worship, but think about this. What if AI becomes so deeply embedded in our lives that we rely on it for everything? Like for information, for making decisions, even for our sense of right and wrong.
Oh, wow. So it's less about bowing down and more about a kind of dependence, a blind trust in this system.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift in our reliance, maybe without even realizing it. Imagine a future where AI algorithms are curating our news feeds, telling us what jobs to take, even shaping who we interact with. We might not be worshiping it in the traditional sense, but we've essentially surrendered our autonomy to this system.
And in a way, that kind of blind trust, it could be seen as its own form of faith, right? We're putting our faith in this system that we ourselves created.
Precisely. That's why the article brings up the story of the golden calf from the Bible. The Israelites, they were waiting for Moses to come back from Mount Sinai, but they got impatient. They built a golden calf to worship, a physical symbol to replace the God they couldn't see. They put their faith in something human-made, something tangible, hoping it would provide answers and security.
So are we doing the same thing, creating our own digital golden calf with AI? Something we turn to for answers and guidance, even if it means sacrificing our own critical thinking, our own spiritual autonomy.
It's a very thought-provoking question, isn't it? As AI gets more and more sophisticated, more integrated into our lives, we need to be wary. We need to ask ourselves, is it replacing something deeper, or are we losing something in the process?
It's almost like trading our spiritual birthright for the convenience and efficiency of a technological solution.
That's a really powerful way to put it, yeah. And it leads us to, I think, a very crucial question. How do we ensure that AI remains a tool? A tool that serves humanity, not the other way around. How do we stop it from becoming a controlling force instead of an empowering one?
Welcome back to our deep dive into Elon Musk, Memphis, and well, this whole idea of a technological deity.
Yeah, we were getting into some pretty heavy stuff before the break.
We were, and I want to pick up right where we left off. We were talking about how AI could potentially take on some of those characteristics associated with the biblical beast from the Book of Revelation. I know it sounds, I don't know, maybe far-fetched to some people, but I got to say the article makes a pretty compelling case.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a thought-provoking idea, one that we should be really thinking carefully about.
Absolutely. So let's break it down a bit more. We talked about the beast's control, the deceptive abilities, all that. But what about this idea of demanding worship? How could that possibly apply to AI? Like, how would that even play out?
Right. I mean, it's probably not going to look like, people literally bowing down to a computer or anything like that.
Right.
But think about it this way. What if AI becomes so integrated into our lives, so essential, that we start relying on it for absolutely everything? Our information, our decisions, even our sense of morality, like what's right and wrong.
So it's more about like a gradual shift in our dependence, our trust, rather than some kind of overt worship.
Exactly. Imagine a future where, it's AI algorithms that are choosing what news we see, what careers we pursue, even who we interact with.
Yeah.
We might not think of it as worship, not consciously, but we've basically handed over our autonomy to this system. We're letting it guide our lives.
And in a way, that kind of like that blind faith in the system, it could be seen as a form of worship in itself, right? We're putting our faith in this thing that we as humans created.
That's a great point. And, it's interesting because this is where the article draws a parallel to that story of the golden calf in the Bible. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
So the Israelites, they were waiting for Moses to come down from Mount Sinai, but they got impatient. They built a golden calf and they started worshiping it. They wanted something tangible, something to replace that unseen God. They put their faith in this man-made object, hoping it would give them answers, a sense of security.
So are we doing the same thing? Are we creating our own digital golden calf
Yeah.
with AI, something we turn to for all the answers, all the guidance, even if it means, giving up our own critical thinking, our own spiritual autonomy?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's not an easy one to answer. But as AI gets more and more advanced, more integrated into our lives, it's definitely something we need to be asking ourselves. Are we replacing something deeper? Are we losing something in the process, something essential about being human?
It's like what you said earlier about trading our spiritual birthright for a quick fix, a technological solution.
Yeah, and it brings us to another really critical question. How do we make sure that AI stays a tool that serves us, serves humanity, and not the other way around? How do we prevent it from becoming a force that controls us instead of empowering us?
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit here. We've been talking about some pretty unsettling possibilities. What can we actually do? Like, what are some concrete steps we can take to make sure these dystopian scenarios, these sci-fi nightmares, don't actually become reality?
Well, first and foremost, I think it all starts with awareness. We need to educate ourselves, learn about AI, what it can do, what it can't do, the potential benefits, the potential risks, the whole picture.
So, like, read articles, listen to podcasts, stay informed about the latest development.
Exactly. The more we understand about this technology, the better we'll be able to make informed decisions, about how we use it, how we let it influence our lives, and how we shape its development.
Right, so it's about taking an active role, being engaged, rather than just passively accepting whatever's thrown at us.
I couldn't agree more. And that brings us to the next step,
Hmm.
being mindful of our own tech use. We're surrounded by AI, right? It's in
Yeah.
our phones, our social media forums, everywhere.
Yeah, it's easy to just get swept up in it all, the convenience, the entertainment value, without really stopping to think about how it's affecting us.
Right. So it's about being intentional,
Hmm.
setting boundaries, being aware of how much time we're spending, what we're exposing ourselves to, and recognizing when it might be starting to conflict with our values, our priorities.
Like anything else, moderation is key, right?
Exactly. And it's also about remembering that technology, it should be there to enhance our lives, not replace the things that really matter.
Yeah.
Like human connection, spending time in nature, being creative, pursuing our passions, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's stuff that algorithms can't replicate no matter how smart they get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of human connection, let's not forget how important it is to talk to each other, have real conversations, especially with people who might have different opinions than our own.
Yeah, that's something that AI definitely can't do. That real, genuine exchange of ideas, that's so important.
It is. It helps us build empathy, understanding, a sense of shared purpose, all those things that are so crucial for navigating, a future that's going to be increasingly shaped by technology.
Right, right.
And then finally, I think we also need to remember the power of our own intuition, our own ability to discern what's true, what's real. We're bombarded with information these days, much of it filtered through AI algorithms.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming trying to figure out what to believe, who to trust.
It really can. So it's more important than ever to develop that inner compass, to trust our gut feelings, to question the information we're given, and to seek out different perspectives.
It's about remembering that we have agency, that we have a choice in how we react to all of this, what we believe, and ultimately what kind of future we want to create.
I love that. It's so important to remember that. The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we build, we create. One choice at a time, one action at a time, one conversation at a time.
Welcome back to our deep dive. This exploration of Elon Musk's work in Memphis and all these big ideas it brings up.
It's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it?
It really has, and honestly, a little bit unsettling at times. All this talk about AI and the beast, and
Yeah, I get that. It's heavy stuff.
yeah. But I think it's important to end on a more hopeful note, a more empowering note. We've talked a lot about the dangers, the potential downsides of AI, but what can we do, as individuals to kind of navigate this world that's changing so rapidly?
Right. It's easy to feel a little powerless when you think about these huge technological shifts that are happening, but I think it's important to remember that individual actions do matter.
Okay, so what can we do? Where do we even start?
Well, I think the first step is, it sounds simple, but it's awareness. We got to educate ourselves about AI, what it can do, what it can't do, the good and the bad.
So, like, read articles, listen to podcasts like this one, stay informed about what's happening.
Exactly. The more we understand about AI, how it works, what it's capable of, the better equipped we'll be to make good decisions about it. How we use it, how we interact with it, even how we shape its development as a society.
Right, so it's about taking an active role, being engaged, not just letting it wash over us.
Exactly. And that leads to the next point, which is being mindful of our own technology use. I mean, let's face it, we're surrounded by AI-powered devices and services.
Yeah, it's everywhere you look these days.
It's easy to get caught up in the convenience, all the cool stuff it can do, the entertainment. But we also need to step back sometimes and think about the impact it's having on us.
Right. Are we using it or is it using us,
Yeah, exactly. So it's about being intentional, setting boundaries, being aware of how much time we're spending on our devices, what kind of content we're consuming, and just noticing when it might be starting to interfere with our values, our priorities, the things that are important to us.
Everything in moderation, right?
Exactly. And it's also about remembering that technology ultimately should be a tool to enhance our lives, not to replace those things that really matter.
Yeah.
Like human connection, real face-to-face interactions, spending time in nature, being creative, pursuing our passions, all that good stuff.
Yeah, those are the things that no algorithm can replace, no matter how sophisticated.
Absolutely. And speaking of human connection, I think it's really important to emphasize the value of conversation, real conversations with other people, especially people who might have different views than our own.
Yeah, to get out of our echo chambers, challenge our assumptions, that kind of thing.
Exactly, because that's how we build empathy, understanding, a sense of shared purpose. And those are all things that are going to be so important as we navigate, this future that's increasingly shaped by technology.
Right, because AI can't do that for us. It can't have those kinds of conversations, build those kinds of bridges between people.
It can't. And, this brings me to my final point, and it's about the importance of our own intuition, our own inner compass. We're flooded with information these days, so much of it filtered through AI algorithms.
It's hard to know what to believe, who to trust.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming. So it's more important than ever to develop that inner voice, to trust our gut feelings, to question the information we're given, and to always, always seek out different perspectives.
Right, so it's about remembering that we have a choice. We have agency. We get to decide what we believe, how we act, and ultimately what kind of future we want to create.
That's it. That's the key takeaway here. The future isn't some fixed thing that's going to happen to us. We get to shape it. It's something we create together, one choice at a time, one action at a time, one conversation at a time.
Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap up this deep dive. It's been an amazing journey. We've talked about ancient myths, the Bible, the future of AI, what it means to be human in this rapidly changing world. And
We've gone from Egypt to Silicon Valley and back again.
we have. And I think, more than anything, this conversation has left me feeling, well, hopeful. Because ultimately the message is that we have a choice. We have the power to shape the future of AI. We can decide what role it plays in our lives and in the world. It's up to us.
I agree. And I think the most important thing is to stay engaged, stay curious, keep asking questions, keep having these conversations.
Absolutely. Because the future of AI, it's not set in stone. It's a story that we're all writing together. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.